just want us to continue to think how we can accomplish these things and move forward instead of constantly looking behind us. We spend so much grief worrying about the past, but it's gone, and we gotta move forward. We gotta worry about the future. That is where I want to come back.
What the hell is he talking about?
I don't know.
Is he talking about past wounds? Well, here we are again, talking Racine. Good morning to you all. Here on my left we have Mr. George Myers.
Morning.
And to my right, Mr. Jim Spodek, producer of the show. I'm Dr. Ken Jorgen. And, geez, guys, I missed you guys all last week. I was down in Kentucky,
Yep.
and living the good life down there, out in the hills.
Proud of you, Doc.
Thank you. I ran into somebody down there, a really interesting woman, and a shout out to all my friends down on the creek, if any of you are watching this. And she's a mycologist and neurologist and so on and so forth, and very intelligent woman, very well spoken, and she said something that kind of disturbed me, and she spoke with great certitude as though what she was saying was completely inarguable, that the state of Kentucky is the most corrupt state in the nation. And I thought, who reads these things?
Well, yeah.
I mean, what about Wisconsin?
We're right up there. I don't know. I kind of think.
How about all these governors going to jail in Illinois?
Yeah, in Illinois. Yeah.
Don't they count?
Maybe she figures they get extra credit for having Mitch McConnell down there. I don't know. But, I mean, we've got Paul Ryan. We got Governor Scott
I think
Walker.
this is a saving grace for Racine. We talk about all the problems with Racine. Wait till we get around to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I don't know about that. Because we got an episode tonight, which, it might blow the doors off Kentucky. Oh, my God.
We'll challenge you. We'll send a copy to your friend down there. Say, can you match this?
Yeah, no
Yeah, we
kidding.
should challenge them.
Yeah,
Give us something better than
corruption challenge.
because we keep pulling them up.
Anyway, I sent out that request for information on the positions of the council members on the arena project.
Right.
And up until a couple of days ago, the only positions that had been made clear, if you could call it clear, was Alderman Miekma from the 14th, who is basically withholding his position until all 10 of the prerequisites are decided. And, of course, Sandy Widener, we know what her position is. She would veto it if she was the mayor, and unless there was a referendum on the part of the people. Let the people decide if they want to go into debt for something. Well, I received a communication just yesterday from Jim Morganroth, and he too says it's too early to say anything.
Whoa.
Because those 10
Wait a minute,
prerequisites haven't really been decided yet. It hasn't been
What happened
determined.
if you build it, they will come?
Well, that was my thought.
I forgot about that.
He was the guy that
God,
said that.
yeah.
Oh my God.
And
Was that little saying just a little premature, you're saying, Jim?
yeah, just a catchphrase. To catch you off guard. Well, in the budget meeting, now they've approved $39.5 million worth of bonding for the arena in the upcoming year. And the arena, of course, hasn't been approved yet. Phase 1 has been completed, hasn't it? I mean, we got the report.
Phase 1 was yes, that was completed. They spent the money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Probably more than they probably spent more than that money.
Well, now they're talking about they're going to have a vote on whether to continue and move on to Phase 2.
Right. That's more planning and
Mayor-elect
studies.
Corey Mason has said no to the arena, and he said that he's better positioned than Alderman Widener, who was the last candidate running against him in the election for mayor. He was better positioned to argue against it to the alderpersons. But in the vote for the budget, well, in the discussion of the budget, the vote is coming up on Tuesday, I believe. But they decided that they would include $39.5 million in a bonding for the arena. Now, a bond, in case you don't understand exactly how that works, it's a mortgage on your house. It's on your property, because it's taxes that are going to pay that bonding back. And the taxes are based on your property values. So that vote was 7 to 5. 7 to 5.
75 is what it
Dennis Weiser, who is acting mayor, obviously did not vote. Alderman Tate was not there in time for it, so he wasn't included. and Q.A. Shakur was running the meeting, so he didn't vote.
He didn't vote, right.
But it passed 7-5. Now, if those other three follow through in the positions that they've had in the past, that would mean that the vote would be 10-5, which means that the arena would move forward, because that's 2/3 of the council, and that's enough to override any veto by the mayor. And Mayor-elect Corey Mason has vowed that he is in a better position to lobby those council persons into rejecting this idea of an arena. So I don't know if he's been on vacation.
Been on vacation.
He apparently hasn't had time to develop those conversations as yet, because so far his election has had no effect on the arena, which was like a big deal.
Right.
Anyway, it's good to be back where there's no corruption. Why do I have episode 32? Oh, I know it. That's about the wages, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. You can refer back to episode 32 from our discussion here, and it'll give you a little more background on exactly how.
What we basically want to cover is your status with regards to the city employees. Just where do you rank in the alderman's consideration about who gets the best deal?
You being the taxpayer.
Yeah, the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Right.
Does the taxpayer get preferential treatment, or do the city employees get preferential treatment when it comes to hard money things?
Yeah.
Let's just take a look at a couple of the aldermen said and how most of the aldermen voted. It's quite. It's well. Their words will speak for themselves.
Yeah, and one way to judge that is the bond rating.
Right.
The bond rating is, at least in part, a major part, based on the reserve fund that a city maintains. In other words, the cash on hand that you have. Taxes that have already been paid in, that haven't been used for anything, they're kept in reserve. It's the rainy day fund.
No, the reason that affects that is because the bond holders want to make sure that their bonds are good. They want to be able to make sure that they're going to get their interest paid, and the other thing is that when the bonds come time be due, if they're 15-year bond, in 15 years, the city's going to have the money to pay that original principal.
Right.
So, and part of that is the reserve. The other part of it, is, of course, is how well are your taxes being collected. Mm-hmm. Is everybody paying taxes, or and everything's going hunky-dory in that area too. But bond rating is very important with that, and it reflects also how well you're collecting taxes. That reserve does.
Right.
Now the reason we're talking about that is because in September, I believe it was, how much money was taken out of the reserve fund to pay salary increases for
One point. Actually, it was August. They approved it in September. It became effective. $1.6 million.
$1.6 million was approved to be taken out of the reserve fund to pay wage increases for city staff. Now a proposal was made by Alderman Widener to take $105,000
Right.
out of the reserve fund to pay the increase in the recycling fees. And why don't we take a look at what the alderpersons had to say about that proposal?
And if I could draw your attention to page 116, we are increasing the fee for recycling because we are reducing the property tax levy for recycling. And I can tell you that one of the most frustrating things for individuals out there that were initially told back in 2010 that we were going to charge you $10 a year until those carts were paid for, and then that went away to a fee for service, when they see every year that the city proposes to increase their recycling fee. And at the same time, we're reducing their property tax. If we can take $1.6 million out of the reserve fund to pay for wage increases, then we can take $105,000 out of the reserve fund to save the recycling users a $3.70 increase. I mean, it only to me seems fair, because that reserve fund was built on taxes that we charged people that we did not spend. So I think they should share in the fruits of their labors by not having to pay this $3.70 increase, and rather that it comes out of the reserve fund.
older person.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. And who advocated most strongly for that wage increase?
Well,
I believe it was the city finance director.
it was
Dave Brown.
Yeah.
And the city attorney set. Remember, he set up the scene for it, saying, we want the aldermen to know what they're doing to the employees with regards to the wages.
Right,
Remember,
and they're underpaid. And you got to remember,
Yeah.
it was the nurses, and they brought up nurses are underpaid. We have a hard time keeping nurses. We have we can go back to episode 32.
Nurses and engineers. They were the two groups.
But the ones that really made the money
door.
was the administration. Was like both hands in the pile.
Yeah. Nursing engineers made a couple pennies or something like that.
They gave them a few bucks.
It was like
measured
a
in pennies.
quarter an hour.
Yeah, something like that.
Something.
Very
I mean,
small.
it was.
But the city finance director, he got the biggest raise of all.
Yeah, I think it was pretty 9 something an hour.
Yeah, and then we talked about that in
Almost
episode
$60
32.
an hour.
So
Yeah.
if you want to go back to 32 and review that a little bit.
But what's going on here is they're saying, okay, we've got the recycling. We're going to raise the green bulky waste, which is leaves and stuff that comes out of your yard. Instead of if we have to deal with it, we're going to charge $3.70 added to the recycling fee, which is at around $30 now.
Yeah.
So that instead of just a regular pickup, it's now you can take it down to a bulky waste spot, I guess, or green, yard waste, grass clippings, different things.
Which was not supposed to be a fee to begin with.
It was never supposed to be a fee.
It was supposed to be, we're going to pay $10 a year on those
Right.
recycling bins until the bins were paid for,
Right.
and then that would go away.
Now I think that's really a critical part to this whole argument. Is it was started off with $10 bin fee,
Right.
Yeah.
and after they saw, well, this got paid pretty quickly, but
we
we
can get some
want more money. Then they quickly doubled it to a $20 recycle fee. All right, and that was going to go on forever, even after the bin was paid. And now it's gradually worked its way up to around 30, and now we got another.
Well, it's another way to raise taxes because now we can take that from the taxes, move that into a fee, and now we have some room to grab that tax money and do something else with it, and we can still raise taxes. So nobody saves on taxes. Your taxes continue to go up. It's just that the fees are added. So when you talk about Act 10, this is a perfect
That's
way
right.
to get around.
This is what
Yeah,
Act 10
and
does
then
not
run.
cover fees.
Right.
The fees were
Right.
fees
Or
were
pay
legal
off
waste.
debt. So they can say, and that's
That's
what
right.
they're going to do now. Now we're going to pay off debt. All of a sudden, over all this time, we just keep ladling debt. But now we're going to start paying off debt. Well, they can pay off debt because they can raise your taxes to pay off debt. But then we can borrow that debt back to something like it's a
Yeah,
vicious
it's
cycle.
$39.5 million in bonding.
Yeah,
That's more debt. Not to mention, how much are they talking about for the safety building?
Oh, it was,
Oh, I don't think that's even in the game anymore. I don't think, is that in there?
It's been mentioned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
25 million, something like that. In
Yeah.
So let's build an
safety
arena, but forget about the police and
Oh,
fire.
no, they're not forgetting about the police and fire, not at all.
Where's what he's coming from.
Yeah.
But I think that the clip here is the attitude of when we talk about the citizens versus the
Right.
the employees of the city. Who ranks higher?
Yeah, who's going to bear the brunt of this? Now, Alderman Widener brings up, wait a second, let's take this $105,000, instead of increasing the recycling fee, let's take it out of the reserve fund. The table's set now. We have two choices, or two things, choices of money taking out of the reserve fund. One is $106 million for...
No, $105,000.
$1.6 million.
$1.6 million. $1.6 million
Yeah, it's staggering.
for funds, yeah.
For wages.
For wage increases versus $105,000, which is about
Pennies on it.
1% of the
Less
10%.
Well,
1.6 million, 10% would be
6-7%.
105,000 is roughly 10%.
Yeah, so it's a much smaller amount for the taxpayers. So we can take 1.6 to give wages to salary increases to employees. Why not $105,000 to taxpayers? And that's what she's. That's
Right.
what
Well, this
she's
was
asking
also
about.
back when they wanted. Oh, we can't touch it for the streetlights. We can't touch the reserve. We
Yeah.
can't touch that reserve because those streetlights. So we had to cut 90,000 out for the citizens. Now we're gonna stick them with a recycling fee for their lawn clippings, but yet all this money is allocated through your taxes to be allocated for that service. But now we're going to charge you a fee that'll free up some more taxes so we can go do wherever that secretly heads.
Well, in all honesty, $3.70 is not a big deal. $30 a year. Not a big deal. It's the attitude. It's the attitude that's so griping to the taxpayer. You know, you constantly nickel and dime the property owners and the taxpayers for every little thing, and at the same time you're throwing money all over the place. You know, for these development projects that go nowhere, for staff that we're not even certain. I'm not convinced that they're worth it. You know.
But now we get to the rationale behind refusing to do it for the taxpayers, $105,000, and going ahead and doing it for the wage increases of $1.6 million. And the rationale is really great.
McCarthy of the 9th, and then Meekma.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do think we need to remember that the reserve fund serves a purpose in our bond rating, and we should, in any case using it, do it in a very considered fashion, as we did in choosing to use portions of that toward raises and putting a policy in place around that, as opposed to sort of ad hoc decisions. Let's take 100 out of the reserve fund here to cover this particular item for perhaps expediency's sake.
All right. Well, there you
heard it, folks.
Yeah.
There's where you rate.
Yeah.
We have to do it give these people pay raises. Particularly Dave Brown, you know, he gets the most of it.
But they gave it great consideration.
Yeah.
At 1.6.
But we can't just pull out $105,000 for you.
No,
we can
here's
do
the thing. If you remember, they did that pay increase, within budget year. So within the year of the budget year to year, they came in the middle of that year and opened it up and said, geez, you know, these employees need a wage increase. So
these nurses and engineers, they need more money.
Oh my gosh,
they're
going to leave here.
The nurses and engineers.
Yeah.
So they, including McCarthy, the $1.6 million, no problem with the bond rating then. That was not a problem. But in mid-year, and I'm going to tell you, I think why they did it, because when they come in and make raises at the budget time, that would come up, and then it would be an issue. The newspaper might pick it up. We certainly would pick it up. We pick it up anyway. But the fact is that there would be more exposure to it, and of course, then it would be a little more scrutinized. In the middle of summer, nobody's watching, they're on vacation, the kids are out of school. It's a great time to bring that thing up and slide it through, and McCarthy was right there helping them out. Matter of fact, I think he was in his cheerleading suit waving bonbons.
But you know, the rationale, though, for doing this was just beautiful. We can take the $1.6 million out of there because the bond rating isn't that important. But the $105,000 we cannot, because the bond rating is very important.
That's going to affect
That's that rationale.
They're beautiful, I tell you. Are you watching Kentucky? I think we're in contention with you guys.
Try to beat this one. We got them every week.
Yeah.
Mr. Meekma, the 14th.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, when we're talking comparing apples to oranges, I also don't think it's fair to compare staff salaries to a service from the city. They're not related. They're separate in many ways, and I don't really.
There's a really good one.
Oh my God!
Comparing staff salaries to a service from the city. Now, wait a minute. What he's essentially saying there, folks, as amazing it may be, is that the staff salaries are not a service to the city. That's just paying money so people can sit around.
People.
The recycling is a service to the city, but staff salaries are not.
They deserve it. They got it coming.
That's to take up space and, you know.
If they're not providing services, what the hell are we paying them for? You know.
There you heard it, folks.
Oh my gosh!
That
pretty much tells you where the citizens rate.
You see the way they're thinking. In other words, staff salaries versus service to the city are two completely different.
And that's where the mentality comes in to build an arena and do Machinery Row and all these huge projects. It's not about the citizens. It's about, most of the time, it's about their ego. The other thing is, those services and those dollars collected should service the community. They don't service the community. They service these big projects that seem to never get off the ground.
They service the corporation.
Or the corporation. And I keep going back to this. You follow that money, when those plans and those studies are done, all of a sudden, guess what? That politician gets a big donation in his campaign finance.
Even from the people that do the studies.
That's
Not
the
necessarily
really
construction people.
Wait a minute. Let me see if I understand this. If I'm an elected official and I vote for some big project to be studied, and a lot of money is thrown at some people that do this study,
Yes.
it's possible for them to give money back to me
Yes, it is.
as a campaign donation?
Yes, it is, Doc.
Has that actually happened?
That actually has happened.
Wow, we need to track that a little bit.
That actually happened more than you can imagine.
Well, I doubt that. I mean, I'm just,
Yeah, there's another one for you, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got on that level.
We're going to be looking at
Mail that one to Kentucky.
We're looking at that with greater scrutiny.
See if she can get this one about staff salaries versus service to the public. Can Kentucky beat that?
Hey, don't push Kentucky. Those people know what they're doing down there.
There's not in many ways, and I don't really find that to be a fair comparison. And I understand that things have changed, and I see that as being a source of conflict and a source of grief for a lot of people, and I can sympathize.
I can't understand what he's saying. So you guys are going to
Conflict and a source of grief for a lot of people.
Is we're in a world right now, or we're in a city right now that's trying to mend a lot of those wounds. And we're in a place where we're trying to move forward and make change that's going to be best for the city long term. And I know that the Band-Aid's going to hurt sometimes. We've used that analogy a lot, so I'll carry that to it for a little bit. But I think it's important that we are open and willing to forgive and to move forward.
Bonding, yeah, that's going to hurt.
Some new approaches to things, and we are where we are, and we need to try and be open-minded and proactive in finding solutions instead of falling back on this was terrible and we're upset about it and we don't want to change anything because of that, because that's not a realistic approach, and that's not how we move forward. So whether we approve this amendment or we do whatever else, I just want us to continue to think how we can accomplish these things and move forward instead of constantly looking behind us. We spend so much grief worrying about the past, but it's gone, and we got to move forward. We got to worry about the future. That is where I want to come back.
What the hell is he talking about? Is he talking about past wounds?
Current wounds.
Is he talking about Machinery Row in the arena, or what is he talking about?
It could be that
The issue is the recycle fee, right?
Well, I thought it was.
I'm not sure what bonding and looking to the future has anything to do with the
healing, George. Healing. I feel like we should all get a group hug now.
Is it because of the clippings that we've hurt the plants and we want to?
I don't know. I really.
Oh my God.
Here's one of the things they're doing is they're going to a retreat. The Common Council, how they put this together, I don't know, but they're all going to go to I think it's wing spread. They're going to go to a retreat and I guess mend their feelings among each other. You know, I don't know how this is, but
I know Jason is a big advocate of the council having one voice.
Yeah, well, that's BS. I don't like that.
Oh, well, now that, we're all supposed to think alike and lockstep
exactly.
in our mental, in our little
exactly. Get in your cubicle and you just make sure
if you didn't get your way, get over it.
Right. We're going to be nice to you. You need to heal. You're going to need to heal. And I'm sure part of it was this election, because I'm sure he was a Corey Mason supporter, Jason, and I'm sure that Sandy brought up some hard issues, and I think people woke up to a lot of the things that went on. I mean, Corey had slogans, really. We can go all into that.
Good slogans. He had some of the best slogans.
Middle class. Is there still middle class? I don't even know. Are there middle class yet?
Well, he talked about middle class jobs, but middle class people don't have jobs. Middle class people own businesses. They have positions, like doctors, lawyers, business owners. That's the middle class. The working class has jobs, but I didn't hear anybody talking about building up the working class.
Is that what he's trying to draw into this recycle argument.
I
thought maybe
I think it's healing. It's just healing, George. Just got to take it at healing.
Well, it's the working class that goes out and picks up the garbage, so maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know.
Well, this is the type of arguments we get, people from Kentucky, up here in Racine. so send that one to Kentucky.
Ah, come on, man. I didn't mean to raise a rivalry.
You got one now.
Is anybody from Illinois out there? No, they got governors that go to jail every year.
Yeah. Well, I'm sympathetic
Every
to
4 years,
anybody
whatever
that's got political malfeasance in their neighborhood, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
At any rate.
Yes, at any rate.
If that's our future, well, that's our future.
Yeah, I mean, it's elected, it's in position, and
if that's our future, I'm glad we're old, George. We might die before it gets here, with any luck.
I guess it really just comes down to the fact that we've lost this idea that the taxpayer who pays the bill should be the beneficiary of the services that are offered by the city that is run by our elected officials and the staff. And that somewhere along the line, that's lost.
Gone completely out the window.
Yeah.
And I think it was summed up best by our friend Kate Remington, who said, "We get it. We're the funding source."
Right.
Well, we are, and unfortunately, it's gotten down to a battle between the bureaucracy and the funding source. Yeah. They want our money.
Right.
And the mediator, the people that are supposed to be in there making sense out of all this, is the aldermen.
Yeah.
Because they are the governing body. They're the ones that really have the most say over it, more even so than the mayor. And unfortunately, what we're seeing in these votes going through, on we're looking at the taxpayers versus the funding source versus the bureaucracy, they're going through in like 9-2, 10-2, big huge margins.
Yeah, there's no discussion.
Yeah,
No,
this one is the funding for the arena, the bonding for the arena was at least close. It was 7-5.
Well,
but the rest are 8-2.
Well,
10-2.
and I'll tell you what, I think that it didn't start that way. I mean, I think because it's been brought to the public, and the public has voiced the opinion they don't want that arena. That's why all of a sudden you see this little shift.
Even that, that's on that one issue. Yeah, they know
that's a kiss of death.
Thing.
And even Corey Mason had to backpedal on that one and come out and say, "I'm positively against the arena."
And he will lobby the older persons to get that thing.
So, I mean, if that issue,
put the final nail in the coffin.
It was the arena that really was the one that kind of up in center.
But and that's because it became very pushed out in the last mayoral race. But the point is that there's these two forces, the funding source versus the absorbing source, the bureaucracy, and the aldermen, as far as I'm concerned, and what I've been watching is they simply aren't doing their job in properly defend. I mean, they are the representatives of the funding source.
Well, here, what I think, George, I think part of it is that they just really are not very well versed on the financial end of
they don't understand what's going on. They're snowballed by all the big numbers. And
let's go to the lean spread,
and
we'll have some cracked crab, and we'll all talk around each
other.
Cracked
crab? That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to.
Once again, it comes back to you. You got to get yourself educated. You got to become aware of what these people's positions are. You have to become aware of what your position is, and that's what that political school that's coming up is going to be all about. I want to plug that again. Anybody that's interested in running for office, we're going to be getting you some information soon, and not just running for office, but knowing how the process works.
Right.
Knowing
not so much how to run for office, what you're going to do when you're in office.
Exactly.
How you deal with this type of thing.
And also, just the information. I went down to Indiana this weekend, and I spent a day down there, and excellent. Had the Attorney General from I can't remember if she was former, current, but had about an hour speech and brought to this group, room was packed, but it was citizens that came there just to hear what was going on. She was very, very good, and she brought the facts that how to really represent her constituents or the people that she represented, and she was very, very good at it. And I think that's the thing that I think the general public has to understand too, and that was a lot of people there from the public. There were some people there that were interested, and she asked, is there anybody who want to run for office? there were probably half a dozen people in that room. So very exciting, and it's a good group, and nice people, and welcome to Wisconsin.
Yeah, so that's coming to Racine, and we'll keep you informed on that. Now, on our next episode, we're going to be talking about this $39.5 million that's been approved for the arena, in spite of the fact that everybody seems to be against it. We're going to talk about a $190,000 salary for a fifth attorney that's coming up, and so on and so forth. We got a bunch of stuff coming up, so join us again next Monday morning. We'll be here. We hope you are too. Say good day.
Good day, folks.
Thanks for being here.